Hello learners, welcome back again. We have already discussed about two process skills, observation skill and another one was classification skill. Third very important skill is communication skill. Communication is not only a process skill, rather communication is a skill through which one person communicate with others. When we talk about the communication skill, the very basic understanding about communication skill is that communication means sending and receiving the messages through verbal or non-verbal means. It means communication is a two-way process. It includes sending the messages as well as receiving the messages through either verbal means talking, writing, or communicating with some words, or non-verbal means with some cues or with body language. So communication is basically a process of sending and receiving messages. Now let us see what communication involves. Actually, people communicate in various ways by using different modes. The most common mode is speaking. We all communicate with each other through speaking. Do you think scientists speak in the same way as a general person speaks? Think about it. Another way is listening. Communication is not complete if someone is saying to you something and you are not listening to it. So listening is also an important mode of communication. The third mode is writing. We communicate through writing. We write letters, we write articles, we write many papers. In examination, we communicate with our teachers. Through assignment, we communicate with each other. So writing is a very important skill. And in science, how scientists communicate about their progress, how scientists communicate about their studies, how they communicate about their researches, they communicate through writing mode. Another is the drawing. You must have observed how children are communicating. Children communicate, they express themselves through drawing. Drawing is another very important mode of communication. The next important mode is gesturing. Have you ever noticed the gestures of your teachers in the classroom? The teacher who continuously speak without any facial expression, without using their body language, and a teacher who use frequently his or her body language. To which teacher you like most? If you like the second teacher most, then keep in your mind your learner will also like the second teacher most. Acting. Often we act. Through acting we reflect being someone else, which we are actually not. So acting is also a mode of communication. Next is singing. We all know about it. People communicate through singing. Then the modeling. People act like someone else. So modeling is also a mode of communication. Similarly, storytelling. We use not only in the language classrooms, we use it in history classrooms, even sometime in science also, we use storytelling as a mode of communication. So, when you think about the scientific communication, there are three important characteristics of scientific communication. First one is that scientific communication is very systematic. It has set norms. It has a language which is not a common language. Scientific languages are different in different areas. The way science communicate with a normal public, like if a scientist want to communicate with a normal person, they communicate in a different language. But when they communicate with each other, like a chemist communicate with a chemist, a biologist communicate with a biologist, their languages are different. The third important characteristic of scientific communication is that scientific communication varies keeping in mind the reader. Have you ever seen the wrapper of a medicine and a leaflet given in the packet of that medicine? Have you tried to compare the language? You see on the wrapper of the medicine, the instructions are for general public. How much dose they can take, how many times they can take, what is the cost, what are the ingredients, for what it can be used, and what are the precautions. So they are in very normal language. But when you go and read the leaflet which is given inside the packet, you can see all the chemical combination, all the doses form. So that leaflet is not for general public. That leaflet is for those who understand the medicine. It may be a doctor, it may be a pharmacist. So science communicate in a different way, keeping in mind that who will read the information. The scientists communicate in the journals in a very different languages, whereas when they communicate with their fellow scientists or when they communicate with their students or they communicate with the general public, their language is entirely different. So today we have discussed what do mean by communication, what are the modes of communication, and why scientific communication is a process skill which is necessary to develop. Now I hope that you will try to design some activities through which you can develop scientific communication skill among your learners. Thank you.